Hello everyone, Shadow SP here. Come back with Granblue Fantasy. Now this time, we're doing our first progression video. Alright, so, talking about progression. Last time we were here, we got all the way up to Chapter 8, which unlocked some very important things for us in our progression. But first I'm going to want to talk about a couple of different progression avenues, because there's a lot of things that you can do in this game. So there's definitely some decision paralysis that you can come up with when you're looking for your next step. I think for your kind of newbie account, something that you should look at first is pinboard missions. Pinboard missions are very useful. Now, unfortunately for us on this account, we have a problem. We can't do a rupee draw because that's gotcha. So, our pinboard missions, the first pinboard cannot be completed. Everything else can be done. Now, I know you might look at this and be like, send a friend request? In an account that has no friends? But yeah, I mean, you can send a friend request and then immediately cancel it. Writing an original profile message, no problem. Upgrading summons and weapons, that we're gonna have to do that at some point. So there's no real problems with doing any of these. Upgrade a character is like the most niche thing on this pinboard, because you usually don't do this, but you can upgrade a character by feeding them weapons. And it does give them experience, it's just, it barely ever matters. And I mean, it gives us a reward that we're never going to use anyway. So. Anyway, but for your normal accounts, right, you absolutely want to complete these pinboard missions, because first off, you get these carbuncles, or you get this carbuncle for finishing pinboard 1, which is very important. This carbuncle is a very useful summon. This weapon is whatever, and so is this one. But your fourth pinboard gives you a character weapon for SSR rarity, and I mean, there's a lot of things that could be, but ultimately it's worth it because it's a new character, and most of these pinboard missions are pretty easy. Another thing to look at when you're looking at progression for your new accounts is the missions right here. Right? Clear Skyscope missions, earn rewards. Yep, there's a few categories. Looking at tutorial missions, right? There's a lot of things that you can do to gain some rewards. It's gonna make me do this, right? Yeah. So we favored a mission, right? And that favoriting a mission makes us complete a mission. Yeah. So there are recurrent missions, weekly, monthly recurrent missions, and these are pretty useful, right? Because they give us rank points, and they give us currency that we can use for progression that we use in the shop. The shop is a very important place for progression. Right, you can use stuff, you can use crystals, which in our case, for this account, this is basically the only use for crystals. This is a tutorial thing, it's going to force us to do it. Yep, more treasure trade, yep. Okay.
Happy Valentine!
Yes, it is Valentine. The Valentine's stuff is still up while I'm recording this video. That's why we get the Valentine's voice line. But there's a ton of stuff we can do in this menu. But the currency that we get from the missions is pendants. So we have the renown pendants, which are kind of the low-level pendants, which are used to buy weapons that are farmable in the pretty early game, not necessarily where we're at right now, But it can also be used to buy these moons, which these moons are pretty good to get a hold of because they get you some really hard to get stuff. Including, if we go back,
Happy Valentine!
we can look at the moons, right? This is how this account can get this carbuncle. Only this carbuncle. The other carbuncles are all gotcha summons, but the wind carbuncle is not. But there's all sorts of weapons in here that are really, really strong main hands. If we look at the Gold Moons tab, right? Right? A lot of these weapons that you'll find in here end up being strong main hands. Yeah, anyway. I don't really want to look for one. It's kind of a late game thing anyway, right? Because you need 150 gold moons to get them. And you get gold moons by trading one per month at the pendant shop, or by pulling duplicate SSRs in the gacha. Right? There's weapons that we end up messing with, but we don't have access to these yet.
Happy Valentine!
There's lots of stuff in the treasure trade shop. Right? This stuff can be relevant, but we don't have access to it yet.
Happy Valentine!
But the shop is extremely important. But yeah, if we look back at the missions, right? Another thing to look to. Hold on, I need to take this off of favorited. All right, another thing to look at in these recurrent missions, right? So clearing a special quest 10 times, it's a weekly mission, gives you half elixirs. 5 half elixirs. Generally, you're gonna have more AP, or it's gonna cost less AP to clear these 10 special quests than those 5 elixirs can give you, because it's 5 times 75 AP. That's a lot of AP. It's worthwhile. Yeah, and upgrading your weapon and summon levels by a total of 10, you get skill jewels to upgrade your weapon skill levels. Those are really valuable, really important. Reduce, reserve. Like, if you reserve stuff, which gives you experience that you use for later, it gives you experience that you can use for later, right? These are very important missions to clear. Also, it's important to look at these, right? Now, the early game, people can't use these monthly missions, but they guarantee a drop of something that you might want from these raids, which otherwise are RNG. But for the most part, for what we're doing now, we look at the standard missions, right? So, we can send a friend request, that'll clear out the pinboard mission also. Edit a message, that'll clear out the pinboard mission also. Activate a shop skill. We don't have access to that yet because we have to be in our second month of play, but we'll get there. Right? There's a lot of things that we can do. And it gives us a lot of rewards that we can use to make our grid stronger. And getting stronger is the key to clearing more content. Right? And if we're looking for kind of what to do, goals are cool. This is a way that we can set up what we want to do, right? We can set a goal in this, in this area. We can look at equipment, like say I want to look at my equipment and I want to get more of these, right? I can set this as a goal. And finish a mission at the same time. But yeah, we can look at that. We go back here. We can see our current goal. We get this cane. Another thing that's nice to look at is character map. This character map tells us when certain side stories become available. And side stories are very important for progression in an account that does not have access to the gacha. Or raids. Like, basically, we have to clear our solo raid before we do the raid to get progression. So, basically, each of these side stories that's mentioned here will give us a character. Not only that, the majority of these side stories will also give us weapons, summons, and the ability to farm for some other stuff. So, ultimately, these side stories are very important. And that's the favored method for progression that I have for the early game of Granblue Fantasy. There's another thing that you can look at, which is the casino.
ようこそジュエルリゾートへ
You can make some progression here. You can also go over here and click on these and get some free chips. It's kind of nice. But yeah, there is
こちら
progression
で
to be
集
made
めた
here.
メダルと交
There's
換で
also
きます
there's
よ
also character skins for the main crew. But the main things to look at for progression in the casino do take a lot of chips, which means it takes a lot of dedication to get them. A knot here is a pretty good summon. This is a reasonable weapon. It's not very good, but it's pretty reasonable for early game. But other things to look at being these uncapped items, the Moonstone, Moonlight Stone, and the Steel Brick. They're pretty good to get. You got skill shards, anima. Another way to get the carbuncle. Skill jewels. Another thing that you could think of as important is these half elixirs. Basically, if you have nothing to do in the game and you like playing single-player gambling games, you know, feel free to jump into the casino. It's not the best way to make progress, but it's not the worst either. Let's see. Yeah, I think the pinboard missions, the mission list, side stories, the shop, and the casino more or less covers what we're looking at super early game, right? Because we're still at a point, I guess there's one more thing to look at, and that is raids. So we can come back. Let's go to Port Breeze.
この感覚は私の中の星の
聖少獣は未だ
事件が
Oh, yeah, we can come back to the anyway. So we're back on Port Breeze, right? You look here. Tiamat Showdown. This is a raid. Basically, once you've cleared it, you can clear this. You can go through this raid. It drops some stuff. You've got some weapons, a summon, and some materials that would be useful for, say, uncapping wind characters. We don't have any of those right now, but we could in the future. So yeah, I mean, clearing this raid is very worthwhile. These weapons, while they're not particularly good, are a good stopgap for making progress in the game, and they're useful for leveling up your other weapons' skill levels once you get weapons that you really want to keep. Now, the weapons that we gain from our main story, so far the Colossus Cane and the Tiamat Gun, they come at max skill level, which is denoted by this yellow text here. So we haven't had a chance really to upgrade skill levels yet. I'll get to that later. It may not be for a while. So, now that we've done a... Oh, daily reset just happened, by the way. Alright. Now, I do say we are not taking advantage of limited time things, but I am totally okay with the limited time thing that we're taking advantage of being extra crystals, because we have no real use for crystals. And I'm also kind of okay with taking advantage of experience and RP bonuses. Mostly because that's just a way to save on tedium. because I don't like leveling characters with sliming. It's not fun. Which I guess that should be something I talk about. Not hugely relevant for what we're doing now, but this tab here for special quests is important, right? Uncapped treasure quests gives you access to all sorts of stuff. Like you take this dark trial, say we look at this, and we look at this weapon, you see these books, dragon scales, orbs, stuff that you will need in fairly large quantities, but you don't need right now, right? These showdowns, they're very good. These are very good to go through, but not right now, because we're not strong enough. And then there's the shiny slime surge, which is the best way to level your characters. Most time efficient, I suppose. But we have no reason to do this right now for a couple reasons. One is our characters are all very close to their current level caps, and we don't have the treasures necessary to uncap them yet. And the other being that we don't really need max level characters to keep moving through the story. Alright, so now that I've covered all these methods of progress, I figure we should probably do something. And my choice of what to do is go into the side stories tab, which you can either get by doing what I just did, which is which is go to gameplay extras. There's a button for side stories, or you can go to quests, go to world, and go to side stories down here. Now you'll see there's a lot of side stories. Most of them are locked because most of them require you to get much further in the main quest. Some of them not so much further, but the ones that we do have access to, they're pretty nice. The most important one is, unfortunately, for my sanity, this Love Live collab. Yeah, this Love Live collab will give us 3 SSR characters, and has 2 really good weapons. So I'm gonna be doing this for a little while. Probably off screen, or off camera. But I think I want to go through Festival of Falling Flame. This is a very old event, so it's got some very old event design. But I'm gonna want to go through this. I'm going to skip the story because I don't really care to show this side story content. If you're interested in the side stories, feel free to play through them. Right, but we can see we're gonna get we will get the ability to get Therese, a character that is going to not be very good, but is going to be useful. And there's also weapons and summons. We can see this it says right here in the status tab, if we clear the ending, we get an SSR weapon. We get the Phoenix Beakblade, which again, not a great weapon, but it does replace anything in our current grid that's not the story clear stuff that we got. So we're gonna go through here, and we'll see that, you know, it functions much the same as our normal quest. Right? We have story chapters with nodes that we go through. These nodes may or may not have fights in them. The older events have a pretty large number of fights, but the newer quests tend to have basically none. There's only a couple. Yep. Let's just go ahead and go with that. I think we're good to go on there. So we'll see what happens here. I don't remember exactly how tough the enemies are in these side stories. I figure since this one's one of the earliest, one of the really early events in the game, the enemy difficulty should be pretty low. And we'll also gain some experience and stuff. It's not bad. But yeah, like I said, early event, lots of fighting. I think when we get access to a non-collab, more modern event, I'll show kind of what that ends up looking like in terms of the fights. But I mean, ultimately, the events and the side stories are designed to be appreciated for their story rather than their gameplay. But you'll definitely see, you know, there's been nodes in the chapters that have not had fights, so it's pretty good. We get to just kind of skip through those. And this is largely what, you know, skipping through events and stuff looks like. Yeah. I mean, it's not the most valuable event to do, but ultimately, I think that it's worthwhile to do all of the events in the side stories tab if you have the sanity for it. I'll show you kind of why in a minute once we get through all the chapters. But yeah, largely, we're not doing anything right now. We're just kind of blowing through making slow, steady progress. This is one of the major story or event structures for Granblue Fantasy. Yeah, I mean, essentially, because Granblue Fantasy has two different event structures, the side story tab all follows one of the two styles, which is the event shop style. Right? We clear stages that can drop, that we clear through a story, right? And the story doesn't really drop much, but then we have stages that we can farm for event currency. This is event currency. And that currency can be spent in the event shop, which we'll get to. We'll look at the treasure tab in a minute. Just right now, we are doing some stuff. Now, I don't 100% know if we'll be able to 100% finish this event, because again, we're pretty weak at this stage because our grid is non-existent essentially. So we'll see exactly how far we can get through this. Ideally, we're able to do all of the objectives and get all the rewards. Well, that would make a big difference for what we plan to do next. And it's kind of nice that we're getting this experience for these classes, because when we reach our max class level, I'll kind of talk about the ultimate goal for where we're trying to go as our first step in class progression. Just gonna buff up and try to take down everything as quickly as possible. Luckily, these enemies are pretty much as weak as the ones that we were fighting in the main story. Okay. We're making progress. Yeah, and like I said in the main story videos, I'm going to try to avoid using collab summons. Like we've got this one, which was a Demon Slayer collab. Not gonna use it. If you want to see it, you'll probably be able to find it if you try hard enough. All right. Okay, so we've done some stuff. I hit the back button. I apologize.
Yaru! Oshimai da!
Okay. Yep. Let's just go ahead and pop up and grab.
私の攻撃受けてみる？
いいぞ、その調子だ。
おお、しか相手が悪かったわね。
Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. Like I said, I do not like this sidebar. It becomes very easy to accidentally click a couple of these things over here while you're trying to do stuff with the UI. Making progress.
ま、ざっとこんなところかな。
Alright. So, we have max leveled our wizard. This means we're going to switch classes. I'll look at the class progression goals on our next fight. Alright, next fight is right here. So we're going to bring Kaguya. I'm going to go over here, click on classes, and we're going to switch class. Okay, so ultimately, and I briefly looked at the second row last time, our goal is to get to row 3. Ultimately, we'd love to master all the row 3 classes. However, it's not feasible to just master every class in every level, you know, going forward, if you're trying to be stronger as fast as you can. The biggest thing we want to do is reach Dark Fencer. And the reason why is this. Every skill in the innate skills list that Dark Fencer has is very useful. In addition to that, both Gravity Wave and Miserable Mist are skills that are very useful for your other classes. Especially Miserable Mist. That skill is very ubiquitous. If you're looking for kind of the generic first pick debuff skill, it's Miserable Mist. Because it gives you attack down and defense down of 25% each. That's pretty good. Now, to get to Dark Fencer, we need to get Arcana Dueler and Sentinel to level 20. Those are row 2 classes. So Arcana Dueler requires that we get Knight and Enhancer to level 20. And Sentinel requires that we get Knight and Priest to level 20. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pick Knight or Priest, and we're going to play one of those. I'm going to go with Priest, because Priest is a rod class, staff class. So the staff that I already have equipped will stay equipped. That's mostly just because of laziness. It has nothing to do with which class is better to do. But now we see we have fire. Fire is a bad skill. It's never used anywhere. So it's just going to clutter up this menu, and there's nothing you can do about it. Alright. So Priest is a healing class, which is kind of okay. In the early game, it's pretty strong, because healing is a pretty good way to keep yourself sustained through fights. But later on, you'll start running into problems with your healing cap, because heal caps tend to be pretty low. Alright, so 3-wave enemy group, summon Kaguya, and then we'll push the button to go through. Alright, so now we're gonna go ahead and buff up and use skill damage. We'll definitely notice the lack of skill damage from Priest. It hurts. The last couple classes that we want to master for our primary class goals to get to a Dark Fencer, they're not going to be our row 1 classes. We're not going to do very well in terms of dealing damage. Now, if you ask me why I mastered the wizard class, it was misremembering which classes I needed. But ultimately, we want to master that class because you want to master every class. The more classes you master, the stronger your characters are. And I've switched targets because our main character is now wielding an SSR weapon as opposed to a normal weapon. SSR weapons have a pretty high damage multiplier. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't waste that damage multiplier on an enemy that was close to dying anyway. Also, we're gonna level up classes pretty fast. Okay. That was a strange noise. Alright, more fighting. More Kaguya. And more levels. We do appreciate getting levels. Man, that is a sound. Alright. Boss encounter against Phoenix. We'll see how this goes. If we end up failing, I will switch them some things. Okay, just attack here. Okay, that'll hit auto life. Heal. Summon Kaguya and hit the refresh button because I don't want to watch that animation. Then we will full chain. Man, that is a weird sound that this enemy makes.
私の攻撃受けてみる。
フェアに行こうぜ。任せとけ。くそ。うまい。
お前たちの背中はウェルダー様が成敗してくれる。
相手が悪かったわね。
Alright. Ultimately, not too bad.
ふっふん、いつでも相手になるわよ。
Alright. And then we get to the ending quest. So yeah, that's the general structure. There's a prologue quest, the, intermediate quests, and then we reach the ending quest. Now, after we hit the ending quest, we get to the farming quests. If you clear both of the free quests, you get the SSR summon. In this case, Phoenix. This is what we really, really want out of this side story. More so than the weapon, because the weapon, if we go to our team and we look at it, it's definitely better than the weapons that we had in our grid, right? I mean, it's an SSR. Hold on, I gotta actually pick it up from the crate. I'm dumb. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I'm bad at the game. I know. All right. So yeah, it's an SSR. It's got way better stats. In addition, it comes at level 100. Now, the skill level isn't maxed, but we don't care about maxing the skill level of this weapon. This weapon gives us HP, and more importantly, normal modifier HP. I'll get to modifiers a bit later, but for now, we know that a weapon that gives pure HP as a skill, just remember, that's not what you want almost all of the time. However, it is better than what we had, so we will equip it. And then we'll go back to that side story. And we will attempt to clear these quests. I think we'll stick with Kaguya, see if we can clear it with that. Now we'll note that these quests do consume HP. So there is a certain penalty for failing. It's not the worst thing in the world to fail. But if you're not super early in the game like we are, there's a 0% chance you will fail this quest. Unless you just enter the fight with no team members and no grid. And even then you'll probably still win.
フェアに行こうぜ。食らいやがる。
焼けるようだ。
このままじゃ危ないわ。
大丈夫さ。心配無用だ。
So yeah, we're just gonna kind of lazily go through this.
聞く貴様をなめるなよ。
And go for this.
これが私の本領発揮よ。エレメンタル
我が奥義お見せしよう。
覚悟はできてんだろうな。バニッシュピア
I
ース。
mean, this is the easier of the two stages.
やるじゃねえか。ま、ざっとこんなところかな。
Alright. We'll go back to the side story. We've unlocked the Phoenix Showdown. We'll go ahead and do this. I think we'll bring fish just to be safe. Rather than trying to read out drops. that is not only a really weird sound, it is really loud. But yeah, not to try to grade out drops. We'll just try to get it clear real quick.
戦術は一つではないぞ。
私の攻撃受けてみ。
どでかい風穴開けてやろう。
これが私の本領発揮よ。エレメント
我が奥義
ブラ
お見せしよう。愛し
覚悟はできてんだろうな。バニッシュピアス。そう。
これくらい余裕なんだから。
フェアに行こうぜ。
Yeah, we shouldn't have a problem clearing this
せい。
with the bonus from getting the fish up here.
大丈夫さ。心配無用だ。
くらいやがる。そう。
It does hurt. I'll give it
だ
that.
ぜ。ありがとうよ。
Like these quests are definitely balanced for someone that's a little bit stronger than we are.
低視様を舐めるなよ。
Because you gotta remember that that first turn getting the full burst is not what we should be doing. Like, there are only a couple of ways to do that.
ま、ざっとこんなところかな。
We got through it. It's important that we got through it because Phoenix is going to be useful for a little while. And then we look at the treasure trade. See, because we have in our status, get the Tanzanite sword to get Therese. So we really want to get the Tanzanite sword. Well, it's pretty easy. Let's trade for it.
私はデュエリストテレーズ。勝利は誰にも譲らない。
Alright, so that gives us another character. Now we will see in this treasure trade there is another weapon here. It also only boosts HP, and we do not care about it. If you really are like really hungering for some stuff later down the line that you need axes for, you can come get it here. Same with more copies of that dagger. But ultimately, for now, we're good to go. Like this is it. But another thing that you want to farm these side stories for, if you're looking to just make progress in a regular count that's not, you know, forbidding the gacha, every side story has 3 draw tickets in it. That's pretty good. Additionally, these 20 half elixirs will cost you less AP to farm than they will give you. So ultimately, they're worthwhile to do in the early game if you're kind of guzzling through your AP. The odds of that are not the greatest, and the longer you play the game, the more of those elixirs you start to stockpile. Partly because of doing stuff like that farming, but also partly because they just give out a lot of elixirs. So yeah, we've gotten Therese, we've gotten all the loot that we care about. Let's go back to the home page and see what we got. We got a trophy. You can get your trophy rewards here. And if we were concerned, I brought up Fate episodes in the last story progression thing, but the quickest way to get to Fate episodes is on your homepage. Just looking at your mailbox, there's a Fate episodes icon here that will bring you to your list of Fate episodes. Which, you know, it's basically your stories for those characters. So we got stuff about Therese. I'm gonna skip the Fate episodes. They're not that important. But yeah, so that's where we're at. We can look at our party now. We have one new character to add to it, and that is Therese. So with the addition of Therese, we actually have the ability to field a full water party, and that's huge. Yeah, so Therese, she's got a couple skills. Importantly, they're not good, but Therese existing is good. She's a stat stick, essentially.
よろしくお願いします。
But if we were to switch like this, you can see our front row is all water characters, and that's going to be important moving forward. Additionally, we got access to Phoenix, right? Or did I forget to pick it up? I probably forgot to pick it up. I'm dumb sometimes, you know. You gotta pick this stuff up from the treasure box. So Phoenix, as a summon, it likes to be the main summon. We get it. It's fully uncapped, but it is level 1. But because it's fully uncapped, we can look at its aura, right? It gives a 50% boost to fire attack. Now, granted, the team that we just put together is all water characters. But if we have a team of all fire characters, Phoenix can be a pretty good main summon for it. It's not the best main summon for it, but we don't have access to the best main summon for it yet. So, Phoenix will do quite nicely as a stopgap. Also, its call is not really relevant. A lot of the times with these side story summons, the call doesn't really matter. What we're really looking at is the aura. And in this case, 50% boost to fire attack is kind of worth spending a small amount of time doing what we did. So what I'm gonna do, because I don't really want to make video content for all of the side stories, right? Because if we look at this, side stories wise, there's 6 full pages plus 2 more side stories. I'm not gonna make content for all of that. That's way too much. So what I'm gonna do is after this video, I'm gonna clear the side stories we have access to. When we reach a side story that is a more modern kind of game design, I will probably show that to show kind of the way that fights are handled nowadays. But yeah, until then, we are good to go on the side stories. I'll clear those off screen. Now, something that I'd normally do off screen, and let me just show you what I'm talking about. I'd usually go and go ahead and clear the these trials to get these materials. However, there's currently a campaign running for half AP costs, so I'm not taking advantage of that. So I'm not going to do that for now. Now, that means we're probably not going to be uncapping these water characters for a little while. So I think the next thing that I want to try to do is make video content for the raids that we have access to right now. After we clear the side stories, I want to see if the raids are possible and, you know, kind of clear those out. Because it would be nice to kind of start stockpiling the materials that we get from clearing these raids. Right? We get weapon skill materials in these SR weapons. This summon can be a filler, and we get these anima, which can come in handy for a lot of different things moving forward. So I want to try to get that done. And I'm going to clear out the side stories and clear out any Fate episodes that we get as a result of those. So yeah, I think that about covers it for the first major progression episode. So, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. If anyone made it all the way through to the end, I appreciate you. I just want you to know. And other than that, it's been Shadow SP presenting Granblue Fantasy. We've definitely made some progress today. I'll make some progress off screen. I've told you what I'm going to do. And we'll be in next time, theoretically, to show some raids. Alright. Have a good one.